asking for the link to the slides so I can put it in the Q&A so we can test that it's working. So if someone can do that, I don't know, Rita, if you have access to do that. I don't seem to.
Put a question in there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Or if someone from the audience wants to. Yay, thank you. Okay. I'm gonna type. Okay.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you, Angela. Okay. So now in the answered area of the questions, you should have a link to the slides. I'll be going through the slides. I will say they're pretty text heavy because I really wanted the slides to be a reference guide for you. So as we go through, there's going to be links you can click on. And again, a lot of text. So I will be doing a lot of reading, but I want you to have that information ready to go. So feel free to use that link and follow along there. And I think we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna unpause the recording. Oh, sorry, let's unpause my screen share. That's okay. Are we already recording, Rita?
Yes.
Okay, then never mind. We're not gonna unpause the recording. All right. So hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar tonight. We are here from DVC to talk about concurrent enrollment, or how to take college classes as a high school student. My name is Sarah Peterson. I'm DVC's manager of early college credit, which includes dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment, and high school articulation. Rita, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, yes. Hi, greetings. My name is Dorita Mayo, and I work in Welcome and Connect Service Center, and we go out and we do outreach for the high schools, and we help the students that are graduating to get started.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions,
Absolutely.
just put them in a box.
Please, yeah, so please put your questions in the chat as we go through. We'll have time for answering at the end as well. But tonight we're going to cover a lot. What is concurrent enrollment? So concurrent enrollment is an opportunity for K-12 students, so high school students, middle school students, adult education students in high school equivalency programs to enroll in college courses. Now this is enrolling in college courses alongside college students. So that is our open enrollment policy. Participating in concurrent enrollment is a great way for students to jumpstart their college journey, stand out on college applications, and accelerate their learning. We do consider concurrent enrollment students to be college students, even though they're minors or even if they're minors. They will follow the same rules and regulations as any other college students, including FERPA. So FERPA is the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, which protects college student records. So essentially, we will not release any academic information to anyone other than the student without the student's written consent. So basically what that means is that the student is responsible for registering for the classes, communicating with college faculty and staff, and managing their own academic records, including things like ordering transcripts, not the parent or guardian. Obviously, this is different than how it works at the high school, so I just wanted to include that up front. If your student is interested in taking classes at DVC, they will have to be the one communicating with admissions and records, talking to the faculty. It will be on them to advocate for themselves through this process. All right. Just some additional notes about concurrent enrollment. Courses that are taken through this program will be listed on the student's official college transcript, and they should be included in college applications. That's their permanent transcript that will continue with them. So it's important that they understand that when they're taking on this opportunity. It can be a challenging process for students, and we don't want them to we want them to be supported through it so that they're able to get good grades on it, because they will be listed on their college transcripts. Policies on how college courses apply to the high school transcript vary by high school and district. So while they will be listed on the college transcript, it is up to the high school how they list them on the high school transcript, and how they are applied for things like acceleration or remediation, things like that. You'll definitely want to check in with the high school counselor, who is the first point of contact for participating in concurrent enrollment. They are typically responsible for advising on course selection and signing registration forms. Our DVC counselors do not meet with concurrent enrollment students, so the high school counselor will be your main point of contact there. And additionally, any questions about the registration process should be directed to DVC's Admissions and Records Office. Early College Credit and Welcome and Connect can assist students in working through the process, but admissions and records are really where you need to go if you're having registration issues. All right, so this is a question I get all the time since I work with both our dual and concurrent enrollment programs, but what is the difference between concurrent and dual enrollment? Before I read through this slide, I just want to say this is a confusing distinction for most people, and different colleges treat them differently. So you might see these terms used differently at some colleges. At DVC, both dual and concurrent enrollment are ways for K-12 students to take college classes, but for us, the difference is that concurrent enrollment is open to all students, while dual enrollment programs are restricted by high school district. So concurrent enrollment is when K-12 students enroll in open college courses, again, alongside college students, whereas dual enrollment is when the high school and the college partner to offer closed courses for K-12 students. So if you're interested in learning about dual enrollment opportunities, we typically do those in the fall and spring, less so in the summer, but definitely check in with the high school counselor to see if there are dual enrollment opportunities available for you at your high school. This webinar will be focusing primarily on concurrent enrollment. Again, that's open enrollment, independent high school enrollment is another way we call it sometimes. Not dual enrollment, but if you have questions about that, my contact information is at the end of the presentation. All right, so some FAQs off the top. What classes can I take? Again, your high school counselor must approve any courses you take, so they will be the main point of contact for determining which courses would best fit your educational goals. We always recommend starting with talking to your high school counselor when you're thinking about participating in concurrent enrollment, because they will ultimately have to approve the courses and they can help you pick which ones are best. Where are classes held? We have classes at both the DVC Pleasant Hill and the DVC San Ramon campus, and we offer several different modalities: in-person, online, synchronous, online asynchronous, and hybrid. We have a lot of different options. I know for high school students, especially in the fall and the spring, they're a little bit limited in what they can take, so they're looking more for online, after-school opportunities. In the summer, thankfully, we have a lot more options for students to take, but also thinking about any trips or things like that. If you're taking a class with an in-person component, you'll definitely want to take that into consideration for the summer semester. How much does it cost? So for concurrent enrollment, tuition is waived for resident K-12 students. That is students that are considered a California resident on their DVC application. However, concurrent enrollment students may be charged a small fee, usually below $10, and are responsible for purchasing or renting any textbooks required for classes. Not all of our classes require paid textbooks, and that's a benefit that we offer to some of our students. But concurrent enrollment students will be responsible for paying for those, so it's a good thing to check on that ahead of time. Also, please check the payment tile on Insight once you are registered for classes to determine if you owe fees. Again, you might see a small fee, our enrollment fees, our student union fees, representation fees. Again, usually $5 to $10 if you see that. If you're seeing higher fees than you expected, please check with the DVC Admissions and Records Office to make sure that your California residency is cleared. If you are seeing, a couple $100s or something like that, definitely check in with admissions and records to make sure that you're coded correctly in our system. The residency process does have a deadline, so definitely check in with them as soon as you see that. And again, we always recommend checking that payment tile as soon as you register, just to make sure that you're not falling into that category. All right, what if I have a 504 or IEP? So DVC does offer accommodations through our Disability Support Services office. I've linked the page here if you want to learn how to apply for those services. There's a process where the student submits an application to DSS. They meet with a counselor to determine what accommodations we can provide, and then they'll be linked to the services that they need. Again, just like I mentioned at the top, students will be expected to self-advocate for this process. It's up to the student to request services and ensure that all the requirements are met to receive the accommodations. So they will need to be emailing, they'll need to be reaching out, checking in with the DSS office for those accommodations, and parents are not included in this process at the college level. Students may provide their current IEP or 504 plan when applying for DSS services. However, it's important to note that IEPs and 504s do not transfer directly to college, and the accommodations that the college can offer may look different from the high school accommodations. If you fall into this category, I recommend, again, I always recommend starting early. We still have plenty of time before summer registration opens, but I would recommend, getting that application in, working with the DSS office now so that you understand what accommodations are available to you well before you register and well before classes start. Here we go. Almost through the FAQs. So how many classes can I take? Concurrent enrollment students can take up to 11 units per semester. We don't always recommend taking up to 11 units. That can be a lot of classes, it's almost a full-time load. And just for reference, one of the Career Academy camps, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is 1 to 2 units. Psych 101, which is a very popular course, or Psych C1000, as it's going to be in the fall, is 3 units. Most of our classes are 3 units, 3, 4, 5 units. And then something like a Calculus 1 is 5 units. So if you do the math a little bit, you can see you can take maybe 2, 3, 4 classes. We typically don't recommend doing that many, especially if this is the first time you've done concurrent enrollment, but we definitely have students that do. And what if I'm homeschooled? Homeschool students are absolutely welcome to register for DVC classes through concurrent enrollment, and we do have more information on our FAQ page. I'm actually going to follow this and show you what that looks like on our website. So we do have an FAQ page. This covers most of what we've already talked about, so this might not be as useful, but here is more information for homeschool. It also has information about undocumented students and links to all the services that I was just mentioning. I also wanted to take a pause here and just show you how to get to this page from our website. So from dvc.edu, there's a couple different ways you can get to our high school programs page. You can either scroll down and choose K-12 students here, and then explore high school programs. You'll also see Welcome and Connect and our Summer Career Academies linked here as well. You can also find it under Academics, High School Programs. Scroll down, and here are all the different programs that we'll talk about. I have links to a lot of these in the slides as well, but just wanted to show you if you're going directly through the website. All right. So how to register. So the registration instructions are on the webpage as I just showed you, but just to go through it in detail, a little bit more in detail, there are 4 major steps for 3 to 4 major steps for registering for classes. The first is to submit an application to DVC. The second is to complete a special admissions form. If there are any prerequisites for the class, then you'll need to clear those ahead of time. And then finally, you will register for classes. I've listed the concurrent enrollment registration dates on the right here. For summer, registration will open Wednesday, May 21st, and for fall, it will open Monday, June 23rd. It's important to note for the fall date, that is during the summer. So I'll talk about this again later, but we absolutely recommend you get your forms in early, because a lot of times your high school counselors will not be available over the summer to assist with signing forms or advising on classes. So even though the registration date is in June, we recommend that you get all of the forms submitted and everything ready to go well ahead of time so that you're not scrambling over the summer. To go through these each a little bit more specifically, for the application to DVC, again, I put the link to these in the chat, so hopefully you can follow along with the slides. This will link you directly to the CCC Apply website. This is the California Community College application website for all California community colleges. So if you've ever taken a class at a community college before, this would be the same process for you. You can create an account. We always recommend using a personal email address, not the high school email address when you're creating your account in CCC Apply. And that's just so that once you graduate high school, you'll still be able to access your CCC Apply account once your high school email has closed. So just a tip on that. Next up, we have our special admissions form. So this is, again, linked on our high school programs page. Here are our steps to enroll. You can find it right here under the Submit Your Special Admissions Recommendation form. It will ask that you put a parent and a counselor signature. So again, getting that counselor signature before the end of the school year is really important. That will be our second step in the process. I'll actually go ahead and open this up so you can see what it looks like. So again, asking for a parent and a counselor signature here. I'm just going to put it has our expectations on this front page. A lot of this is covered in the presentation, but it's good to review it. You'll choose your term, either summer or fall at this point. the high school from the list, and here's where you will enter your course information. I'll note this a little bit later, but you can enter up to 4 classes on your special admissions form, and you can submit multiple special admissions form per semester. We recommend that you put backup courses on this form, but you only need to submit once per course. So for example, we offer 4 different sections of Math 114 over the summer. If you put Math 114 on the form, you only need to put it once. You don't need to list all 4 sections. But if there's multiple math courses that you're interested in, you'll want to list all of those courses. This form will, once it gets signed by the student, it will go to the parent for signature. It's a little bit confusing when you get the link as a parent. You do need to create an account with the email address that the student put on the first page of this form. So that can trip people up sometimes, but the parent will create an account with that email address through this form system, sign their part, then it will go to the high school counselor, and then it will go to admissions for processing. It can take up to 24 hours for your business hours for your form to be processed. So if you're submitting, late on a Friday night, it probably won't be processed until Monday. So that's something to keep in mind too as we get closer to registration, that you'll want to get this done ahead of time and get all of your signatures in ahead of time so that you're cleared to register when registration opens. All right, and then finally, how to register. These are a couple of guides that we've created on how to register through Insight. This goes through all of the registration steps. I also have a backup here. We've been running into some issues with some specific errors that I'll talk about later. This is an alternate way to register if the original way does not work for you. Once it loads. There we go. So we have 2 different ways you can register if one of them isn't working for you. All right. So some additional tips and tricks for registration, have backups. So like I mentioned, you can list multiple courses on your special admissions forms. We definitely recommend having backup course options if possible. Sometimes you just want to take that Spanish course or you just want to take that math course. That's totally fine. But if you're interested in taking additional options, I recommend putting more courses on your form. You don't need to register for every course you list. It's just getting permission to enroll to register for those courses. And again, once you're approved for a course, you can register for any section of that course. So there's no need to list multiple sections on the special admissions form if you want to have backup sections. Again, I can't reiterate this enough. Complete your forms ahead of time. Make sure you have your special admissions form signed and any prerequisites cleared as soon as possible. This is especially important for fall 25 registration since your high school counselor may not be available to sign forms over the summer. All right, and now getting into registration more specifically, try and take screenshots. This is something I recommend when I'm working directly with students. If you run into an error or something isn't working for you, try and take a screenshot of the error that you're seeing so that when you email admissions, they can help you more quickly. So they can quickly identify what's going on. Also, always email admissions from your Insight email. So once you complete your application to DVC, you'll get an Insight login. That's how you get into our student portal, which is Insight. You do have an email with that account. I always recommend emailing anyone from DVC, but especially admissions, directly from that Insight email so that we can verify your identity. Again, we are not allowed to release information about student records to anyone but the student. And so this is a way that we can ensure that we're communicating directly with the student. Also note, concurrent enrollment students typically can register at 7 a.m. on the registration date. However, admissions and records does not open until 9 a.m. So if you do run into an error on registration date, you might have to wait until later in the morning to get through to an admissions representative. It's a stressful morning. I totally understand that process can be frustrating. We typically have that's one of our busiest days of the year. So just note that you might have to wait a little bit and that they won't be available until 9 o'clock. All right, so while you're waiting, here are some common registration errors that you might see that you might be able to fix before that 9 a.m. opening. So I'll go through these somewhat briefly, but just wanted to give you some examples of what kinds of errors you might see. If you see the error that you do not have permission to enroll in the course, typically that means that something's going on with your special admissions form. So either it's missing a signature and hasn't been able to be processed, the course you're trying to register for isn't listed on the form, or it's just not processed yet. Again, it can take up to 24 business hours for your form to be processed. So if you just submitted it and you just got the signatures, it might not be ready yet. So that is typically where that is. And A&R can check on the status of your form once you get through. If you see an error about a prerequisite, again, there is a prerequisite process and you have to submit that form, or you can take the online placement for certain classes like math and English. But those the prerequisite forms can take up to 5 days to process during registration time. So again, it's best to submit that as soon as possible so that it's cleared and ready to go on registration day. This is an error that we've been getting recently, error 500 or error 400. I believe this has been fixed, but if you're seeing something like this, that's when I recommend registering through the educational plan. So I've linked that instruction guide again. There are 2 different ways you can register. We typically recommend registering through our typical registration process through the visual schedule builder, but this is the backup if you need it. If that doesn't work, again, you can check in with admissions and records to see what your options are, or with our Welcome and Connect services to see what they can help with. And then finally, see course notes or description for petition approval. We do offer some courses that are closed. So that means that we're not accepting students from, not accepting general students into that course. Always make sure that you're checking the course notes when you're looking at their schedule of courses to see, sometimes they will list something like this course is intended for Umoja, this course is intended for PACE, or things like that. That typically means that it is reserved for those programs, so you would need to look for a different section. All right. So some resources, we do have a high school friendly courses list. This is something that my office puts together that lists, basically it's a way of looking through our schedule a little bit quicker. So if you're looking for a specific course, it might not be listed on here. That doesn't mean that we don't offer it. This is just to help make it easier if you're going into your counseling appointment with your high school counselor to find what you might be looking for. So these are just some options that we have, and if they're offered online, in person at San Ramon, or in person at Pleasant Hill, and what I get area, the NCSUGE area they apply to. Again, this does not show you what is currently available to take, so I always recommend going through the course schedule, and again, having a couple of sections as options to show you what is actually available. So for example, if we go into summer, and this is a course I'm going to talk about a little bit later, I can look up our Math 114. You can click this Show Open Courses Only, and then you will only see the ones that still have seats available. So again, the high school friendly courses list is more of a reference guide. This is where you'll actually see what's available, how many seats are left, so you can plan ahead before that registration time. I also linked our catalog and our link to our iGetsy. If you're not sure what to take, our catalog is a great place to start. We obviously list all of our degrees and certificates, as well as our general education pattern. iGetsy, which is listed here, is the general education pattern for UCs. So that's typically where we recommend students start if they're interested in transferring. We will be transitioning to a different general education pattern in the fall called CalGetsy. We don't have our catalog available for next year yet, but in general, our iGetsy courses will be applicable for CalGetsy. I've also linked our how-to guides from our Welcome and Connect services. There's a huge wealth of resources here, including some of the registration guides I've already shared, that links things on how to apply, how to access certain resources, how to register, how to use Insight. So highly recommend taking a look through there, especially ahead of time, so you can get set up as successfully as possible. All right. So I did have a couple of programs I wanted to highlight. So again, we don't necessarily recommend courses. We are not your counselor. Your counselor will be the best point of contact for picking courses, but I did want to highlight a couple of our programs. We do offer career academies over the summer. These are 1 to 2 week camp style courses that are designed with high school students in mind to introduce a variety of career fields. We do have a website for this, and this has a lot more information, but I can just show you some of the examples of what we have. So for example, we have an animation career academy, a business career academy, computer programming, cybersecurity, engineering, environmental engineering, and let's see, I'll just go through them all. Fast tracks engineering, technology, healthcare, and robotics. So these are offered throughout the term. There we go. These are offered throughout the summer. So some are in June, some in July, some in August. And they're very hands-on. They're, again, meant to introduce high school students to certain career opportunities. So we really try to make them engaging and more, like I said, camp style for students. They include things like competition. So you can see some of our students in this first photo working on a project for a robotics competition. And then they also can include field trips. So on the right, you see students out in the field doing research with our professors to learn about their industry. We also can include industry panels, so people from the field of interest telling students about how to get into it and what it is like. Here is our list of career academies for this summer. All of this is on the website as well, and we have a lot more information on that page. But just a snapshot of what we're going to be offering this summer. Again, they go from June all the way through August, and students are able to take more than one if there's more than one that they're interested in. The other concurrent enrollment opportunity I wanted to highlight is geometry. So we do offer Math 114 geometry. We're offering 4 sections of this class this summer, and these are only open to K-12 students. So we do not have college students taking these classes. They're only available for concurrent enrollment. And typically we see students taking these classes if they want to accelerate through their math pathway in high school. So for example, sometimes we'll have 8th graders taking this course so they can get into a different level once they join high school. Sometimes we'll see 9th graders taking it after completing Algebra 1. In general, I always recommend checking in with your high school counselor or your middle school counselor on what would be the best option for you, if this is a good fit, if this would be a good idea. If it can be used to accelerate through your sequence in that way, definitely check in with them about that. But we do offer 4 sections of this over the summer, 2 at our San Ramon campus and 2 at our Pleasant Hill campus. And that is all that I have. I know we have a lot of questions, and I know Rita's been working to answer a lot of them in the chat, but I'm also open to answering questions live if there's some themes that are coming up. Okay, I'll answer this one live. Well, this presentation and its links will be available after the meeting. We are going to post the recording on the YouTube page and also on our website. And I believe we'll try to email out the slides as well. I think we'll be able to do that. Any other questions you think we should answer live, Rita? Oh, you're on mute.
And this is a very popular question. Do you need to submit a new admissions form for each semester?
Yes, so you won't need to submit a new application necessarily. So the DVC application, as long as you've been continuously attending, you don't necessarily need to submit a new application every semester. Just go in and check in your Insight on your registration date. If you have a registration date for summer already, you don't need to do a new application. However, you do need to do a new special admissions form every semester. Even if you've gotten a course approved for last summer, you would still need to do a new form to get that same course approved for this summer. I'm seeing a couple questions about career academies. I do not believe the robotics career academy is available at San Ramon. I believe San Ramon, we just have the health academy and either the cybersecurity or the computer programming and our environmental engineering. So we don't have exactly the same academies at both campuses. And for the career academies, the enrollment process and the enrollment date is the same as general concurrent enrollment. They are open to the public as well. So they follow the same timing and regulations as our normal concurrent enrollment classes. And they are for a letter grade. Let's see. Yes, middle schoolers can take classes concurrent enrollment. Like I mentioned, they can take geometry. They can also take the career academies. As long as the high school or your middle school counselor approves it and they meet the prerequisites, they can apply. There are some age restrictions. So for example, if you're, I believe it's under 13, you may have to do a paper application. But aside from that, we don't restrict on age. I also forgot to mention, this is not related to age, but PE courses, so any of our activity courses, yoga, hiking, anything like that, you do have to wait until the first day of class and get approval from the instructor to add. I meant to put that in the FAQs, but I forgot. All right. So I'm seeing a question. on needing to miss times of classes. So typically, it is up to the DVC instructor on what their attendance policy is. For the career academies, it's a really quick time. It's usually only a week or two. So any missed time is a lot. I would definitely recommend reaching out to the instructor of the class ahead of time and checking in with them about their policy. You can find their names in our searchable schedule, and then you can find their emails in our directory. So I would recommend if you have a situation where a student's going to be late or is going to be missing a day or something like that, reach out ahead of time. But I would say typically we want the student there the whole time. Can I elaborate on DVC GPA and how it affects high school GPA? So in general, however, how courses affect the high school transcript and the high school GPA are up to the high school. So I would check in with the high school counselor. I wouldn't be able to speak to how this affects the high school GPA, if it's weighted, if it's included, anything like that. However, like I mentioned earlier, these classes will be listed on the student's permanent college transcript. So even if they're not on the high school transcript, they will be on their DVC transcript. And when they're doing college applications or anything like that, they would need to submit all of their college transcripts alongside their high school transcript. Are we going to be able to get the links? Yes. You know what? I'm also going to put the link again here. Give me a sec to copy it. So I'm answering, it looks like Peyton's question with the link to our slides again. So that will link this whole presentation where you can see everything. But again, everything is also available on our website. If you go to the high school programs page, it'll be listed under concurrent enrollment. You can find all the links for the registration steps there too. All right. Are there any other ones? Let's see, Health Academy options. For details on the career options for that Health Academy, I would check the website. We also have a contact on there for the Career Academy specifically. I think it's DVC Career Academies at dvc.edu or something like that. Any questions about that, about specific career academies, I would direct to there. So as a high schooler, do I need to fill out the special admissions forms or can I regularly enroll for DVC for concurrent enrollment? So high school students have to complete the registration form, in this case, the special admissions form, in order to get permission to enroll. So we will need that. Again, that form asks for the parent approval, parent or guardian approval, and the high school approval. So we need to have all of that on file before you'll be cleared to register. And
I would like to add, Sarah, that
yeah.
That new ID Me
Mhm.
for the high schoolers and below, I'm sorry, you do not need to go through ID Me. That's for students that have graduated already.
Yeah, so that is part of our application. I haven't seen it come up too much for students that are younger than 18, but sometimes you'll see an ID.me verification step in the application process. If you're under 18, you do not need to complete that. So you can just hit verify later or skip that process. Let's see. The Summer Career Academy of 1 to 2 units is not for a grade, but would be on the DVC transcript. It would be for a grade, so we do assign a letter grade for the Career Academy courses that would be listed on the DVC transcript. It is only 1 to 2 units, so it's not a huge impact to the GPA, the college GPA at least, but it would be listed on that transcript. Is there anything else I didn't cover, Rita, that you think we should add here?
You did a great job. Everything you were mentioning, I was like, oh, good point. Good point. No, you did just about everything. And I answered all the questions that were just
Awesome.
typed in. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, you have our emails on the screen. Again, I typically recommend going to admissions for anything registration related. They are really going to be the ones that can help you check on registration errors, checking on form statuses, all of that stuff. Early College Credit and Welcome and Connect services are definitely here to answer your questions and help you in the enrollment lab. We do have staff on campus that can assist with the process. So if you're going through the forms and you have questions, please feel free to come to campus and check in with us at both the San Ramon and the Pleasant Hill campus. And I think we have one more does that transcript need to be, so in terms of the official transcript at the end, so the student, like I said, will get a DVC transcript with this course listed on it. If you need to submit it, it's typically to the high school if they will allow you to include it on the transcript. So again, check in with the high school counselor on if they need an official transcript for that, if they can list the courses on the transcript, what they need for that. And then when the student is doing college applications, they will also submit that DVC transcript to the colleges that they are applying for or that have requested it. All right. I think that has cleared it up.
And does anyone want to take down admissions phone number, or do they?
Sure. Oh yeah, you know what? Let me actually go to their page.
Okay, thank you.
Just to show you how to get there. So there's a million ways to get to places on our website. We just updated our website, so this is all new, but I usually go right here, admissions and records. So on here you can find the phone number right here, their email address, their opening hours, as well as, oh, sorry, that's the San Ramon one. We also have Pleasant Hill here.
Yeah.
As well as our forms and a bunch more information, cashier's office, prerequisites, all those things. So definitely utilize this resource as well. And I'll also go to Welcome and Connect since we're here. There you go. And this is where we got those how-to guides. Again, phone number, email address, opening hours. There's also some workshops and things that they do. We do offer tours of campus. So if you're interested in doing that as well, this would be where you would go for that, as well as campus maps. Very useful. And then I'm going to end with the high school programs page because I'm the one presenting. So again, this is where you can find all of those links to enroll through our concurrent enrollment page. Link to the form and everything here. Also our career academies. Once I get there, go back. Our career academies are linked right here. Again, listing all the different ones that we offer with all their different specialties. Oh, actually, let me find that email. And there's that DVC Career Academies at dvc.edu email. If you have questions about those. And some of the other programs that we offer as well. All right. Well, I think we are done with questions. Again, feel free to email us. Registration for summer starts May 21st, so you have plenty of time to get your forms in, get everything cleared beforehand, and registration for fall opens June 23rd. So we hope to see you on campus this summer. We're really excited to work with your high school students in this process, so please feel free to reach out. We would love to see you here. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.